Hi everyone. Even though it seems like a lot of amusement parks have had pins for sale for a long time, it feels like the pin trading craze kind of exploded when Disney started doing it in the early 2000s. We've always been a fan of collecting pins. They're relatively cheap, they're small, they're easy to store. And we're here today at Busch Gardens Williamsburg to take a look at their pins. We figured now would be a good time because coming up on September 10th, the Felt and Feather behind me here is doing a Howl-o-Scream pin trading event. They're having new Howl-o-Scream pins released, including a blind box that contains 2 of 6 different pins that look like containers of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. There's more on that later. What we're going to do now is take you around to the various locations around Busch Gardens Williamsburg that sell pins and show you what kind of pins they have for sale. We'll give you an idea of some of the prices, and we'll especially look at the blind boxes they have available. Personally, I think that those are the most fun because you never know what you're going to get. So let's go take a look. We're going to be trying to walk around the park clockwise. When you walk around the park clockwise, the first place you come to is Sesame Street Forest of Fun. Here, they have a shop called Kadabby's Treasure Trove. Inside the Treasure Trove are 2 racks of pins, and not surprisingly themed to Sesame Street. At the top are some dated calendar pins. $18.99, which I'm actually kind of surprised they're not cheaper than that considering they're dated and they're from 2 years ago. Below that there are some character pins, $9.99 each. Some drawings and signatures of some of the Sesame Street characters. Let's take a look at Big Bird. Also $9.99. Let's see, more calendars. A couple of pins, Bert and Ernie with some dangly pieces. Those are $11.99. Going on down, there are some pictures, handprints, more of the drawings. They have these pins that look like bobby pins, and then below that, more handprints and the calendar. And then on the other side, across all of the Sesame Street characters, 1969 vintage Sesame Street blind box. Bert, Elmo, Ernie, Cookie Monster, Oscar, Big Bird, and a mystery chaser pin. 2 randomly selected pins for $24.99. There's also at the bottom starter set for Sesame Street pins. There's 2 different varieties to choose from. The second one has the characters in various modes of transportation. So if you want to get your child started on pin collecting, this is a good place to come to buy something to start them off with. There's a small shop right by Escape from Pompeii as you're heading toward Italy. Inside that shop, 1 single pin, Celtic Fire. I'm not sure why it's over here, but it retails for $9.99. The Tempesto shop in Festa Italia is a hub over in this direction for pins. They have a nice big rack, and this rack actually even has the pin trading logo down here. If you keep an eye out for that, you can find places that have a good selection of pins. Several different blind boxes here. They also have the sign announcing the pin trading rules. So, speaking of which, there are team members around the park that wear lanyards that have pins on them. You can walk up to any one of those members, and as long as you're wearing a pin from a park that's in the SeaWorld family, including SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, you can trade one of your pins for theirs. And these blind boxes are a good place to get pins to trade because you'll most likely get duplicates. Some of the odds are kind of bad of getting something new. So these signs, they have the beer and pretzel sign, San Marco, Trapper Smokehouse, the confectionery, and the price is $22.99 for these. The My First Ride Was pin box has several different rides on there. It's a set of 10, including a chaser pin, and that one retails for $18.99. Mystery license plates, 6 pins, various rides around the park. That one is $27.99. And then below that you have some standard pins, Pantheon stamp, some various characters, various rides. This Family Flyer pin actually will swing. It's on a clasp. Similar pins, flags, and then you can rotate the stand. Have classic posters for the rides. Other assorted pins, more blind boxes. These cool pewter pins that they have here. These pins are probably a little bit more pricey. Not too much actually. These are $10.99. The third side has dog tag pins, some ride medallions, these giant hoods for Pantheon. The limited edition gold hood is a little bit more expensive at $23.99, and the standard colored hood is $21.99. Also on this side is another one of the starter sets. This one has various. The lanyard itself is covered in various country logos. The pins themselves are camera, compass, little pretty standard items. And the fourth and final side, Busch Gardens 2020 logo, stroller parkings, Virginia items, a Busch Gardens license plate, and then these extra large pins with animals that they have at the park. They are $24.99 each. More Sesame Street calendars, other calendars that aren't Sesame Street related. This one actually has National Roller Coaster Day on it. That one's actually kind of neat. Too bad it's 2 years old. And then other pins. And there's some patches too, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. Inside of the lovely air-conditioned Fest House, they have a single rack of pins. These pins are a little bit special because, as you can see here, many of them are retired. They have some bottle openers, England, Italy, France, some other bottles. There's a 3-pack, a French 3-pack here, which $24 for the 3 pins. And then there's a German one and a Canadian one. There's a very small Canadian section at this park, even though it doesn't really fit with the Europe theme. This one's also $24, so all of the multi-packs are $24. They have more of the dog tag pins that we saw over in Italy. Some more multi-packs. More of the elongated pins. Other retired pins, England, Ireland. This train conductor's cap. Some more calendars over on the side. One random Sesame Street pin. And more calendars going down the side here. As well as a selection of lanyards, but not actually starter sets, just lanyards. And then on the fourth side, they have some retired Sesame Street pins. Green Sesame Street characters. More handprints and dangle. They have an American pin set, which is interesting since there's no American section here. Other Sesame Street characters. And a 4-pack of pins that spell out Elmo, which is also retired. The 4-pack is $24.99. This building here in Oktoberfest is a store. Out in front of the store, as you see, there's a big pin trading logo. The store itself, the little kiosk, is often closed as it is right now. It usually opens later in the day. They have a very small selection of pins here. Sometimes they don't even sell any pins at all when I've walked by, but we'll be back later today to see if this is open so we can take a look at what their selection is. However, inside this actual store, there's a very good selection of pins, also a pin trading location. Inside of the store, there are basically 1.5 racks of pins. I say that because the second rack only has pins on part of it. Stamps, and there's also a set of cans for various rides. They're becoming harder and harder to find. There's only a couple here right now. There's another one hiding behind that telephone booth for England. There's a battle for air pin, which this attraction isn't even here anymore, so I'm surprised they haven't put this on sale yet. And then another coaster pin for Tempesto. On the third side, a bunch of pins that look like spoons, which is an interesting concept. These spoon pins are only $8.99, so they're a little cheaper than average. An Oktoberfest cart with barrels on it for also $8.99. That one, they actually had that cart around the park at one point. I haven't seen it in a while. Maybe they'll bring it back in October. Railroad crossing, some more ride pins, the Pantheon hoods, cutback special edition pin from the water park, as well as a Brauhaus mug. Some more character pins, ride pins, train pins, a vertical 2022 pin over here to go along with the horizontal one. Membership pins, Food and Wine Festival pins, some basically special edition pins over here, but they're a little extra pricey because they're special edition. And then on this side, some animals. The second rack has a pin trading starter set that has 4 different flags on it. And an interesting feature, this particular rack has this pin trading bag where you can, inside of the bag are several pages of, I believe they're made of felt that you can stick your pins through and keep them on there. It has a shoulder strap that you can wrap around you to carry your pins with you if you're taking them to trade. And it looks like there's also, this was hiding below it, there's another pack of pins down here. Interesting. This one, 6 pins, but it's $42, so it's a little pricey. Around this side is another pin trading starter set. This one has a few animals that are featured around the park, the Clydesdales and the wolves. This even has 2 of each, so you can trade one away and still keep one for yourself. On this side, Busch Gardens Park specific pins on a lanyard, and there's also a lanyard metal in between them. Down below is a Pantheon pin that comes with a patch. Buying the pin with the patch is the only way to get the specific pin, so regardless of if you want the patch or not to get the pin, you have to get this set. That one retails for $14.99 for the pair. outside of Alpengeist, for whatever reason, they have a Sesame Street themed gift shop. Right immediately as you come to it, there are racks of pins. These pins aren't very unique compared to what we've already seen. They have a 4-pack of characters, $24.99, and then more of the 1969 vintage blind boxes. This side is more of the signature pins and handprints. They have this furry red Monster Club pin here that I didn't see elsewhere. This side has no pins, nor does this side, so you're looking at only a 2-side rack here for pins. Trapper Dave's General Store in the area known as New France, just outside of Invader, has a rack of pins, so let's go take a look at that one. They have the 4-pack of the Canadian pins that we saw over in the Fest House. There's a side of magnets around here. American flag, membership pins. These pins I haven't seen in any other store. Corkscrew Hill and Europe in the Air. These are 2 rides that are no longer here. I also wanted to add that aside from that rack, there are also some starter packs behind the register, but they're starter packs that we saw elsewhere in the park, and I didn't want to get in the face of the person working the register, so I omitted them. But yeah, it's nothing new. Emerald Isle Gifts, even though they're not official trading pins, they do have a selection of pins here. Family crests. They have them alphabetized as they should. 4 sides, going all the way from A to Y. Apparently no Z last names are included in this. They don't have prices on the back, but I'm assuming because of this sticker here that they are $11.99 a piece. Across from the Highland Stables, home to our friend the Gratuitous Clydesdale, we have another sign for another pin trading location. This one is known as Tweedside Gifts. And here we go, the pin trading stand is finally open and its pin selection is non-existent. Last but not least, we're back in England where we started, back at the Felt and Feather. Right across the way is the Emporium. These 2 stores both sell pins. We're going to start off in the Felt and Feather and save the Emporium for last. The Felt and Feather is an official pin trading shop. They have the pin trading rules again up at the top. They have this 4-pack of Scottish pins that's similar to the other countries that we saw inside the Fest House. And they have this sheet pin scooting over. They have some starter sets up here. It's the Sesame Street ones and the flags. And also the animals. There's actually a Christmas section in here. Big bird with a Santa hat on, Santa Claus, nutcrackers, trains, Rudolph pins, as well as Sesame Street Nutcracker and gingerbread cookies. And some more blind boxes, the signs. They actually have some map blind boxes in here, which you don't see much anymore. All of them are mystery pieces, but basically when you collect them all, it makes the Busch Gardens Williamsburg park map. This blind box is $23.99. Above that, they actually have some more Rudolph pins that weren't in the other section. And last but not least, the ones that I'm excited about, they already have some Howl-o-Scream pins here. Several of them, including these giant billboards. These giant pins are each $29. Which I guess given the size of the pin, it's really not that much money. However, they are very difficult to put back once you take them down. Continuing over, there's also one more section, more Sesame Street pins, and they actually have other blind boxes that we didn't see elsewhere. Besides the 1969 vintage, they have Sesame Street emojis and Sesame Street Pixels boxes. They are $17.99 and also $17.99. So the Sesame Street pins are a little bit cheaper. Interesting that the Felt and Feather is already selling Howl-o-Scream pins. I think those were previous year's pins that they still have available, but they're supposed to be releasing new ones this coming year in a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep the previous year's ones around once the new ones are released. We should take a look at the pins that are coming out. So here's a look at some examples of what the pins are going to look like. These first pins are releasing September 10th, the first weekend day of Howl-o-Scream. First we have a spider dangling from a web. Then we have an ice cream cone with eyes in the cone. It's a pun, get it? And then we have a tribute to the Killarney Diner house that's at Howl-o-Scream this year and in years past. Also releasing September 10th is what I'm really excited about, the blind box. You can get 2 of 6 pins in this box. All of the options resemble Ben & Jerry's ice cream pints, and you can have a look at 2 of them right here, what the pins are going to look like. I'm not sure what any of these are going to retail for just yet, but it's safe to assume that the blind box will retail for somewhere in the upper 20s. This next group of pins will be released on October 1st. There's a Howl-o-Scream logo in that triangle up on top, and items hanging down such as scissors. The second pin is for Monster Stomp, one of the shows that you can catch during Howl-o-Scream. And the final item is a broom, where the bristles of the broom are hanging chains. Below that there are various vials of poison, a pin saluting the Nevermore house that was at Howl-o-Scream in years past, and a Howl-o-Scream logo medallion on a chain. Also releasing October 1st are these 4 pins. The green skeleton has chains connecting each of its joints. The skull and crossbones up there and this witch hat down here are made of a reflective material similar to the lorikeet pin that we saw earlier in the video. And last but not least is moon phases with the full moon having a jack-o'-lantern face. Well, I had intentionally saved the Emporium for last because it's the front of the park store that theoretically should have all of the pins in there, but after seeing the selection in the Felt and Feather, I don't know if that's the case anymore. That was such a good selection. I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be as good in the Emporium as it was over there. The Emporium also has the pin trading logo, but as expected, the selection isn't quite as good as what was over at the Felt and Feather. And the final side only has lanyard pouches, so no pins there. A little bit underwhelming. Over here, this wall used to contain a bunch of other starter sets. It wasn't different from what we saw in other stores, but it's interesting to see that they're all gone now and they've been replaced by pens, pencils, maybe because of back to school, I'm not sure, but the fact that the selection is shrinking is a little bit interesting. Even though the actual pin selection isn't great, one thing that is interesting about the Emporium in particular, there is this pin trading board where you can take one of your own pins and trade it in for one of the pins on this board, and it includes a bunch of the pins that are exclusive to the pin ambassadors, the upper sets up here. Some of these pins are very hard to find, and they're available on this board if you just trade some of the pins you already have. So that's it. Those are all the places in the park that sell pins. I should clarify one thing. The pin board that was inside the Emporium, I forgot to mention, you're only allowed to trade 2 pins per person per day on that board or with any pin ambassador, which I should also mention that those are the people who are wearing pins on their lanyard. That's what the park calls them, are pin ambassadors. Additionally, there is the park president, Kevin Lemke, will occasionally walk around here, and he himself also has a couple of special exclusive pins called Presidential Awards. There are 2 versions of each one. One is a fully metallic version. It's completely silver, and the other one is a colored-in version of the same thing. The image on the pin changes periodically. As of right now, it is a picture of the Fest House. It's a really neat pin. I personally have never run into the park president, but you may have a chance if you keep an eye out for him. I'll put a picture up right now so you can know what he looks like and keep an eye out if you ever visit. So you may have noticed that we saw a whole bunch of repetitive pins as we went to the various stores. That's kind of a good side and a bad side to all this. The good side is that at least if you're looking for a specific pin, it won't be too hard to find it, with the exception of some of the handful of exclusive pins. There really weren't too many exclusive pins. But the downside to all that is that it makes it less interesting to collect the pins because there are so few of a variety. It seems like they have kind of lessened their selection. I remember them having more than that, especially where the blind boxes are concerned. But despite that, there are still enough pins where it can keep your interest. It's still fun to collect the pins, and it's still fun to trade the pins, especially now that they have added that pin board in the England area of the park. So that'll do it for this trip around the park. If you enjoyed the video, we'd appreciate it if you would give it a like, and also if you could subscribe to our channel, it would be a big help. Yes, like that. And anytime you do that, it really helps out the channel. Also, remember, please check out our Instagram page for pictures from our trips. We would also appreciate that. That would also help out the channel. And thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.